31% of Americans with over $1 million invested, actual millionaires, describe themselves as middle class. Let that sink in for a second. These are people with 7 figures in the bank, and they do not feel wealthy, not even a little. So here's the real question. If $1 million doesn't do it, what number actually will? Marcus lives in Columbus, Ohio. He's 44, drives a used Acura MDX, works as a regional sales manager, and has been quietly, consistently building wealth for almost 2 decades. Last spring, Marcus hit a milestone he had been chasing for 11 years. His investment portfolio crossed $1 million. He texted his wife. She sent back a champagne emoji. And then, and this is the part that got me, he told me that by Monday morning, he was already doing math on his phone, running numbers, wondering if $2 million was actually the safer target. The champagne feeling lasted less than 72 hours. Marcus is not broken. Marcus is not ungrateful. Marcus is just human. And what happened to Marcus has a name in behavioral psychology. It's called the hedonic treadmill. And once you understand how it works, you will never look at your financial goals the same way again.
Here's the core idea. Every time your income or your net worth goes up, your happiness goes up with it, but only temporarily. Within weeks or months, you adapt. Your new normal resets. And the goal that used to feel huge now feels like a baseline. You're not at the finish line anymore. You're just at the new starting line. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. This isn't a poor people problem. This isn't a middle class problem. This is a human brain problem. The research is unambiguous on this. The wealthier you get, the wider the gap becomes between what you have and what you feel like you need. Studies consistently show that high earners, people pulling in $200,000, $300,000, even $500,000 a year, feel the pull of just a little more intensely, not less. Because at that income level, your social circle shifts. Your reference point changes. And suddenly, you're not comparing yourself to the average American anymore. You're comparing yourself to the guy at your golf club who just bought a lake house. Now, think about what that means for you, wherever you are right now on your financial journey. If the feeling of enough is always moving, and the brain is literally wired to adapt and want more, then chasing a number as your finish line is a trap. A very expensive, very time-consuming trap. So let's talk about what this actually costs. And I don't mean financially. Meet Marcus again, because his story keeps going. After that first million, he decided $2 million was the real target. Solid logic, right? More cushion, more security. His kids were 12 and 15 at the time. He figured he'd hit $2 million in about 4 years if he kept grinding. He took on a bigger territory, longer hours, more travel. He got there in 3.5 years, came in ahead of schedule. His daughter was 18 by then. She left for college the same month he hit the number. And Marcus told me he missed her entire high school swim season, every single meet except 2, because he was on the road building toward a number that by the time he reached it, he had already mentally moved to 3 million. That is what moving the goalpost costs. Not just money, time, presence. The years when your kids still want you at their game. The Saturday mornings when your body still has the energy to do the things you love. Every extra dollar you decide to chase has a real price, and it is almost never paid in dollars. Here's a stat that I think about a lot. The average American works approximately 90,000 hours over the course of their lifetime. 90,000 hours. And most of us spend a significant chunk of those hours chasing a financial target that our own brain will invalidate the moment we reach it. Unless, and this is the key word, unless you make a very deliberate, very specific decision in advance. So here's the fix, and it is simpler than you think, but it requires real honesty with yourself. Step 1. Define your enough number before you reach it, not after, before. This sounds obvious, but almost nobody does it. Most people say, I'll know it when I feel it. And as we just established, you won't. The feeling will not arrive on its own. You have to create it deliberately. So sit down today, not someday, and ask yourself one specific question. What does my ideal life actually look like? Not a fantasy life, not a magazine life, your real life. What does your home look like? What do you drive? How often do you travel? Do you have a boat, or do you genuinely not care about a boat? What does your annual spending look like in that life? Be specific. Assign actual dollar amounts, because a vague dream is just a wish. A specific number is a plan. Let's say you do the math and you land on $85,000 a year as the lifestyle you genuinely want. Not the lifestyle you think you should want, but the one that would actually make you feel satisfied and free. Work backward from there. Using a simple 4% withdrawal rule, which is a long-established retirement planning benchmark, you'd need about $2.1 million in invested assets to sustain that lifestyle indefinite without touching the principal. That's your enough number. Write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see. Now here's step 2, and this is where most people completely skip the work. Separate your financial enough from your identity.
Marcus's real problem wasn't that he needed more money. Marcus's real problem was that his sense of self-worth was tied directly to the number on his brokerage statement. When the number went up, Marcus felt like a success. When the number felt small compared to what he thought it should be, Marcus felt like he was falling behind. This is the trap inside the trap, because no dollar amount can fix a self-worth problem. None. And if you were using financial milestones as a substitute for a genuine sense of identity and purpose, you will be on that treadmill forever. This is why some of the most financially secure people I've talked to, people who genuinely feel like they have enough, aren't necessarily the wealthiest people I know. They are the people who made a conscious, deliberate decision about what their life is for. They have things outside of money that make them feel valuable: relationships, creative work, community, faith, physical health, things that don't have a price tag. Here is step 3, and this one requires some courage. Give yourself actual permission to stop. There is a concept that some high net worth individuals use called a giving threshold. Once they hit their enough number, every dollar above that number gets directed outward to charity, to family, to causes they care about. Not because they're forced to, but because they made a deliberate choice that beyond a certain point, accumulating more for themselves stops being the goal. They locked in the finish line. And that decision alone, the act of making the decision, is what freed them from the treadmill. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not telling you to stop being ambitious. I am not telling you to settle. What I am telling you is that ambition without intention is just anxiety with a good work ethic. True financial freedom is not just about reaching a number. It is about deciding ahead of time what that number means, and then actually letting yourself feel it when you get. Marcus, by the way, made a change. After his daughter left for college, he sat down with his wife and they had a real conversation, the kind they had been putting off for years. They wrote down what their actual ideal life looked like, not the theoretical future life, the life they wanted right now, while they were still healthy, while their son was still in high school, while they still had time. They landed on a specific number. They wrote it on an index card and put it on the refrigerator. 3 million. And they agreed once they hit it, they were done chasing. Everything above that threshold, they'd redirect. Marcus has already started showing up to his son's basketball games. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Your brain will never voluntarily declare victory. It is not wired that way. Left to its own devices, it will always find a reason to want more. That is not a character flaw. It is literally how human beings are built. But you are not just a collection of instincts. You have the ability to override the autopilot. You can make a decision. You can write a number down. You can build a real life around that number while you are still building toward it, not after. The people who end up genuinely happy with their finances are not the ones who earned the most. They are the ones who decided the earliest what enough meant for them and then actually believed it when they got there. So here is my question for you, and I want you to answer this in the comments because I genuinely want to know. What is your enough number? It can be an annual income, a net worth, a monthly cash flow, whatever metric feels real to you. Drop it in the comments. No judgment, no comparison. Just your number. And if this video made you think even a little differently about the way you're chasing your financial goals, hit subscribe. New video every single week. And I promise every one of them is built to help you build real wealth on your terms.